Hello, my name is David Webb and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. It's me to go first. I have the J, but I have a U and two I's. So how can I resolve this rack? And this is not easy. If I play gin, I'm keeping 4 vowels, and that's not good. So I'm looking for a play which uses more vowels, and that's tough. Gin, 20 points, keeping 4 vowels. I don't think that can be optimal. Or even better than changing. Okay, I very rarely change the J. But I think it was best in this instance. Now this looks fairly balanced, but I can't see a 7-letter bingo. Maybe my opponent will provide some useful floaters. If he plays an F, I would have friendly. I do have the LY and ILY ending. Don't think nerdily is good. Okay, great start for my opponent. He has a blank and plays Tenias, 64 points. Now, has he provided a useful floater? Trendily, yes. And that places the Y at 04 on the double letter square. Yep, there's not going to be anything better than that. Unless there's something through the A, the first A, which is a double-double. Can't see anything. Although once you've seen a good move, sometimes it can be hard to spot a better one. But one should still try. Trendily, 82 points. And I draw the second blank. I have a balanced rack. Morbies is good. That plays at G9 across. Can't see anything through the Y of Trendily. There are 2 double-double lanes available, column 5 and row K. Row K would involve a word beginning with N. I've got the IUM suffix. But I can't see anything beginning with N. And in column 5 I'd be looking for a word with 5 vowels. Which are difficult to spot, and I don't think I have a playable one. So I have Morbies, but that's not particularly high scoring. Now I could consider a word going through the N of Trendly which doesn't begin with the N. But I'm not seeing one. The B, U and M are not a great set of tiles to have, but the blank just gives me enough flexibility that I should have a playable bingo with this. I do have the A, B and E for an ABLE ending word. Unfixed, that's fine. My opponent provides a floating U and N. Well, the U doesn't help me. Now, the Morbies play is across here. Let's see, or let me see what this scores. 71 points. There probably are other possibilities, but this is a wide open board, and this does take me into a lead. And I have Echelon and Cheloni. I'm not sure if either of those plays. And the S of Morbies is 1 square too high to pluralise either of those. Can't see anything through the Y of Trenderly or the U of Unfix. Ah, Echelon does play I6. Sorry, I7 across, making NE, Mike, R and U's. Oh, well, that's splendid. My opponent may obstruct it if he plays in row H underneath Morbies. But it's great to have that spot, and Cheloni also plays at I8 across. Do I have anything else? Onto a D I would have not chelled. I'm still looking at the Y of Trendley in case there's a low probability bingo through it. Can't see it. If my opponent blocks Echelon and Cheloni, I could play Huel at L1 down for over 30 points. That's pretty good. I'm looking to see if I have a bingo beginning MI in column 8. But I can't see one. Now if I don't play a bingo, is Huel the best I can do? Well, it would leave Huel would leave a rack leave of CENO, which is pretty good. Con is a useful prefix. My opponent is spending a while on this move. He may be close to a bingo. I haven't spotted any other bingos apart from the 2 in row I. I do have the A and the E of Tenias as floaters. Now, I think Holocene is good. I would need a floating O for that. Not 100% sure on that. Now I'm hoping my opponent's going to be drawn to the bottom left of the board. The S of Morbies is not an easy tile to play under, because it doesn't take an A or an E. And there's not too many premium or too many high scoring letters which go underneath the I either. Okay, I'm not seeing anything further on this board. Can't see anything through the E of Trenderly. And I'm fairly sure I don't have anything through the N. Well, it'll be interesting to see at the end of this game, if I remember, what my opponent's rack was that he's spending such a while on. Great. Echelon is not blocked, and this is a really nice bingo. My opponent's play of Davy has not opened up any further bingo opportunities for me. Echelon 90 points. Excellent. Now I have the dreaded WU combo, and I have a preponderance of vowels. This isn't great, but I do have a 120-point lead. My opponent's play of Davy has already taken out the U of unfix. So the board has gone from being wide open to quite blocked, but that's fine. Mick takes an E in front, so I could play woe at F6 across. 22 points, leaving a rack leave of pure, which is fairly balanced. I do have the up prefix. It would certainly be nice to play the W and the U if I can. Now Z takes an M in front. I don't have an M, but there is still one unseen, so I need to bear that in mind. So is woe the best I can do? Can't see any up words which use the W, and this does have the advantage of taking out row F as a bingo lane for my opponent. Bingo lanes ending in E are quite useful. Great. This is a balanced rack. It hasn't deteriorated. I would have grouplet through an L. I would have portague and portigue through an A or an I. None of those is available. I don't have a 7-letter bingo. Can't see anything through the N of Trenderly. I do not have the M for front hooking Z. But a play like Pug would leave EORT, and that would be a promising rack leave. I'm not sure there's anywhere great to play that. I could play groups at B14 down. 28 points, that's a pretty good score. Rack leave of ET is okay. Slightly open in that it puts a G in a spot for an ING ending word, and the R is a useful floater. But I do have a 100-point lead. And if my opponent doesn't bingo, I could probably score quite well down column 15. Well, my opponent takes the spot I was considering. Has he provided any floaters which I can use? Not that I can see. So can I use column 15? I certainly want to play off the U, and I could place that in front of the H. But then I'm looking for a word beginning or containing EU, and that's... I don't have any of those. Well, I could play just Ugg and then Toper's not a bad leave. And the advantage of Ugg, it doesn't score great, but it does take out all those floaters, and I am defending an 80-point lead, so it has a lot of merit. also doesn't take anything after it, so Ugg is taking out column 15. So this move has a lot going for it. Ugg does take an S in front, so my opponent could still bingo in row B with a word ending ST. But Toper is a promising rack leave, and I'm not sure I can do much better than 19 points on this board. Although I note that unfixed takes a T, so I could play Pout or Gout. For 28 points, probably another 10 points. Well, I think it's going to be close because this rack leave is good. And that's slightly disappointing. Through an N, I've got Pointier or Poitrine. Unfortunately, neither of those goes in row K. I don't have a 7-letter bingo. I could play Piot and Unfixed, leaving IER as my rack leave. An ideal rack leave would be EIRT, and that would require me to play POI. That may be possible. Now, I need to remember that the Z could feature in a bingo in an IZE ending word. I don't have one with this rack. Although I'm close, I think Epizoite is good. Actually, let me retract that, I don't think it is. So, is Piot my best move? 28 points, that's a nice score. UH does take a P in front, but GI doesn't take anything in front of it, so I can't use that. I could play Poi at E5 across. 17 points. So this is what I'm thinking about. I can play POI here for 17, or Piot at J6 down, 28. Does the T improve my rack by 11 points? I don't think so. And that's quite grim. All 1-point tiles, so I'm going to struggle to score. But I have a 130-point lead. So if I played RIN, I'd be keeping EIRS, which is an excellent rack leave. Either Rise or Risen are both superb rack leaves, but the drawback with this rack is that in order to achieve that great rack leave, I'm unlikely to score very well. So I've got duplicate I and duplicate R, so I certainly want to play off both of those tiles. I could play Rin at J10 across, 15 points. That may be the best I can achieve. I do have the O of Piot as an opening letter in a possible bingo, but I can't see one. Yeah, this is not a very bingo-y rack. Both blanks have gone. 2 S's in the bag, 4 E's. Ooh, painful. Very painful. Okay, I must have been confusing that with a word that was good. So poi would undoubtedly have been better at E5. My opponent's gone in exactly that spot. However, I can do this. 19 points. Yeah, it's just topai, I think. Well, I was saved having that poor rack to deal with. That's still expensive playing a phony. And I do not have a bingo with this rack, but I ought to be able to resolve it fairly comfortably. I'm looking to play off the Y, the O, and possibly the E. So I could play IOT at J, 6 down, leaving IER. Okay, that's gone. Actually, I'm assuming that Piot was the phony. It's possible that it was unfixed. Anyway, my opponent scores only 15 points, which is good. I think I do have to take out row O. I've only got an 80-point lead. I need to score and deny him bingo lanes. So this denies him an expensive bingo lane, but at the expense of providing him with another one. Actually, I can play Toei here for slightly more. And this is less easy for him to utilise row N as a bingo lane. So Toei, 25 points. Duplicate E, duplicate I, and 5 vowels, no high-scoring tiles. If my opponent bingos now, it's going to be a close game. And if he doesn't, I can't really take out row N. Actually, I'm fairly happy to leave row N, because if my opponent does bingo through it, he'll be opening up the triple word square at O15. Now the problem I have in trying to maintain an 80-point lead is that it would be really helpful to have some high-scoring tiles, and I have none. So I'm really going to struggle to score even 20 points with this rack. I could play IO and ZO at K1. 13 points, better than changing, but it does keep 3 vowels and 2 consonants. But I note there's only 2 E's in the bag, but there are a lot of A's, so there are a fair number of vowels unseen. 11 out of 33 tiles. Okay, it's only 1/3 of the bag. So maybe that wouldn't be so bad, but I suspect there is a better play available. That's a good move by my opponent. He opens up row A, and I can't take that out. Well, I could play IO at A9. The trouble is that scores very little. 7 points. And the other thing I could do would be to play Ordini. Actually, this is worth thinking about. Burns a lot of tiles, which is good when you're ahead. It expedites the end of the game. Only scores 9 points. Actually, that's not good. Well, let me think about this. The reason I say it's not good is that I'm placing the O above a triple letter square, so my opponent could score a lot playing a 5-letter word beginning at B2 and ending in a W or an M. Don't fancy that. I actually quite like IO down here because that D of divvy, if my opponent doesn't use it, goes quite nicely with this rack leave. So is there anywhere better for my play of IO, or IOE would be even better, but I don't think I can play off those three. Let's see what happens. I draw another E. I don't see a play through the D, or not a bingo play. Unless... oh well, that's a good play by my opponent. 65 points. He's now 30 points behind. I was wondering if Needlier was good, but I don't need to concern myself with that now. 14 tiles left, and left in the bag, and 7 on my opponent's rack. And I have all 1-point tiles again, which is a shame because row A is particularly promising for putting a high scoring tile at A4. So should I be... do I have a 5-letter play beginning at A1? It looks like I ought to have one. Relie is good. I am opening up the board for my opponent to bingo again. But that's 23 points, and if I don't take this out, he could easily have a good score there. Great, I have the J. Hopefully I can score well with it. Jarina is good, Injera is good. Can't see anywhere for that, for either of those rather. I'm looking around to see where I can play my J. I could play JAY at M9 down, and that would take out the row N bingo lane. I'm 52 points ahead. If my opponent does bingo, he will have a slight lead. And if he bingos, there will be only 2 tiles in the bag. So it'll be a very close finish. Now, there's one A left. I could play jar at D2. Looking at the tiles that are left, they're not bingo-y, but my tiles are bingo-y. So if I play jar here, there's only 2 vowels left, so my vowel preponderance is a good thing. That's not often the case. Scores 30 points, which is a great score, and I'm providing a hook which I am more likely to take advantage of than my opponent. I'm close to a bingo. I do not have a 7-letter bingo. But I could play pouring at C1 down for a big score. 50 points, or just over. I am 62 points in the lead. What's my opponent got? Well, he's got 7 of the tiles you can see at the bottom of the screen. I don't think he's got a bingo unless he's got matrons, which could play at N9 across. Okay, he plays Mog, leaving 1 in the bag. So I can now see Well, I can see the 8 remaining tiles. If he has the Q, he loses. He is 61 points behind. If the Q's in the bag, does my opponent have a bingo? Don't think he does. But I'm 60 ahead. Let's see what pouring scores. Pouring scores 51 points. So I'd be 110 points ahead. Yeah, I think even if I'm stuck with the Q, I win. And I note that on the board as it stands, the Q does play at F12, but if the Q's in the bag, my opponent will certainly block that. But he's unlikely, the Q is unlikely to be the last tile in the bag. And even if it is, I think I will win. And it isn't. Great. So I have OE. That plays at A15 for 8 points. I can play Dome at A8 across. 12 points. Or 11 points. I can play 1 at A9 down. 18 points. Now that may well be my best play. Great. Toeies isn't good. Splendid. So 1 for 18 points is on. I'm just going to quickly see what this scores. 22 points, that's even better. Yep, can't see anything better than that. And my opponent ends the game. And the final score is 499 to me, 338 to my opponent, so a winning margin of 161 points. Let's see what I missed. It was me to go first. I could have played JAI for 20, and that's not a word I considered, and JEU, also not a word I considered. I think JAI is better than changing. JEU with a rack leave of AIIN is less obviously so. Wow, trendily the only playable bingo, but I'm grateful there was one. And this is where I played Morbies at G9, and that was actually the highest scoring bingo. I'm surprised. Now I didn't see any others, but the others that were playable were Boomelia, Iambuses, Ombrees, and Boomelias. Okay, well, I do know all of those. I have studied them, but I didn't spot them in game time. Echelon for 90 and Chalone. Actually, this was the move where I was going to see what my opponent was taking so long over. Okay, nothing too remarkable about that rack. Echelon was best here. And this is where I played Woe at F6. That looks fine. And this was my, I think, my moment of shame. Or is this where I played Ugg? This is my Ugg move. And I like Ugg for the reasons stated in the video. This was my moment of shame, and I could have had 32 points at J6 for Proteai. Okay, so I do know that Unfixed was good. It was Piot that was a phony. And Proteai remained available, but I think I prefer Poi. 13 fewer points, but the rack leave of EIRT compared to I is going to swallow up possibly all of that. $8M. Where's this? Oh, lusty. Gosh. Okay, I didn't consider lusty. OIE for 26 would have been good. Instead I played Toei for 1 point less, and the Ratcliffe VIRT was better. So, yeah, that was an oversight. This was a grim rack. What did I do? Yeah, I played IO for 13. I could have played Zinnia for 30. That would have been nice. Down from the Z. Yeah, I think a few of those moves were better than mine. Nice spot by my opponent of Theranos. This is where I played Re-Lie, and that looks like it was best. Could have played Jean at D1 for 48 points. Instead I played Jar for 30, so I think Jean was better. Pouring for 51 looks like it was best. And finally, Woe for 22 was my move. So a pretty big margin of victory at the end, but my opponent did come back into it, and I just moved away again close to the end. I think there were a few interesting spots in that game, and some nice bingos with Morbies and Echelon, and a couple of bad plays, my phony certainly, and not spotting the lusty hook. So I hope you enjoyed watching that. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.